Well, good morning, everybody. Good morning to you all, and happy Monday. Happy Monday, September 29th. Greg Angello here with you back on the YouTube channel here, video on Planet One Radio. Nice to be back. I think that I have been out for at least maybe 3 weeks or so. Not that I've been out somewhere, but just been doing a number of things, and we'll talk about that as well as we move forward with this video. I call it the housekeeping, and then I'm going to move into content. And if you look at, I think that the title of this one is "What Have You Done for Me Lately?" All right. So really, what does that mean, and who is who? Who is who has done what for me lately? That is really the premise of this video, and we'll talk about that. Some of you may, depending upon your belief system, may like it, may not, all of that. But there is some really, at least to me, eye-opening as who we are, and I'll go through that in just a little bit. But as far as housekeeping goes, good to be back. Hope that you are all doing well. We're down here in North Carolina area, so obviously there's been, at least for a week and a half, back and forth about, these tropical depressions, hurricane, all of those things, which direction they're heading. Every half hour there's some different change, new development, moving towards us, making a right turn, being pulled back. So we're not expected, at least here in the Carolinas, to be getting we're not getting an impact from a hurricane, or even, I know this one that was coming, I think the first one that was coming in may have been, I think a Hurricane 1, a Category 1. Don't know what's going on with the other one, if it's Umberto or whatever that is, hurricane, Category 4 or 5, but we will have probably some effects, outer bands, all of those things. Maybe not so much here because we are much more west in the Charlotte area, at least probably 4 hours from the Carolina coast. So it's good news, and obviously good news for people who are, at the coast, and those that are in South Carolina, Myrtle Beach area, and all of that. So Myrtle Beach is, had that tropical depression coming in around the 4th of July. So it is cloudy today. We've had some really, really beautiful weather probably for the last 3 weeks. It is still considered summer here. We don't really look at this as fall like other places up in the Midwest and up in the Atlantic, New York, and all those regions there, and also on the Pacific side. We don't really look at this as a fall time. Our fall really comes in later in the mid to October, end of October, and basically can run all the way through December, depending upon what kind of, you know, uh, we're in an El Nino, El Nina, all of those things. The sunbursts going on from the sun, the solar rays. I think that this is the time where it's been a big flare up, from what I understand, on the sun surface. So that's why it's been hotter, which is another thing I'm going to talk about. I think down the road is, people talk about climate change. Well, we don't have the sun, we don't have anything. And I believe that it's really more about what's going on with the surface of the sun and the solar rays and the flares and bursts. And I really believe that the amount of the solar rays that are coming out are more than they used to be. It's just the way that the sun, if you look at historically how other of these stars, sun stars, as they get older, and our sun will eventually get older and will at some point. I mean, it could be millions or billions of years, but it's going to basically get very, very large, and then it's just going to implode. But probably none of us will be here for that. But at least for now, I think that the sun is going through its own changing phase. So, and how much changing is it going to do is really going to affect how we handle ourselves on the planet. So, I mean, there was some talk many years ago about, the ozone layer being eroded, but then there's also, I read much about how that the Earth is able to actually, the ozone repair itself. and all of that. So I think it's more about the sun's activity than it is about, here on planet Earth. Now, obviously, we have a lot of people. We do have emissions, but I don't believe that it really gives us this, what they used to call this greenhouse effect and trapped in. I really think it's more about the sun. And we can't control that unless anybody wants to go up there, which I think would probably take about, I don't know how many trillions of years to get up there and check it all out. I think you'll even get there. I think even like if our Earth, the way it's rotating was, I think it's like 4 or 5 maybe degrees closer to the sun. Um, the Earth in and of itself would not be able to be inhabited. It would be too hot. All right. So what else is going on? Speaking of hotness. So the turf stuff is going on. I've had some installs. You've all seen that. I'm looking actually more to do more self-generated turf projects right now. I'm working on one for a church. We'll see where they are. I don't know if this is going to be for 2025, 2026 budget year, because I think when the school season starts, they pretty much have spent their budget. Most schools have spent their budgetary expenses, and coming in now to look at a turf project will probably lend more towards the next season. So I am working on one with that. And the reason I'm doing that is because it's just really, I found out, obviously, when you get into a company and you find out about how much work is involved and what you have to do and the appointments, going to the appointments and all of those things, and then how we do it with the installation. And I have to actually be there. I don't have to be for the entire time of the installation because the installers do it, but it's just seeing like what my end payoff is on the commission because I'm self-employed. So we've had some conversations about some of these jobs and all of that. So I do receive more on my own leads that I get, and that's just the way it is. All basically companies who are giving you commission are like that. They will pay you more on your own lead than having to pay for what it costs them to do it. But there's been some issues on the margin and percentages. So that is what that is. But that is that. So the other thing that is going on, I want to tell you briefly is I've also moved into like in a real estate avenue. I had a recruiter reach out to me, and it is really an interesting situation because this company, which if you've looked on my LinkedIn account and also on my Facebook account. I'm now working, which is a hybrid now. It's just not a 1099, but it's a hybrid. It's a combination with hourly salary and commission with a company called ProHome. And ProHome is the warranty management company, probably the oldest in the country. I think they've been around since 1983, and there's really not many companies out there that do that. So we work directly with the new construction, with the new builder, with the builder and the homeowner. So we go with the homeowner to their pre-closing phase. We can talk about that later, but that's pretty much what that is. So, and I'm also, they actually created a new position, different position because of the Charlotte market, the way it is here, that I'm procuring the new builders to come into the platform, and then I get paid a commission for that. And it's just, they pay for my time, they pay for my travel and everything else. So they're a very, very good company. Everything's pretty much transparent on what you're going to get paid because I basically clock in my hours and put in my time, and I know what I'm doing and all of that. So, and I know directly if I bring in a new builder, I know exactly what I'm going to get, not after receipts and other costs and, how much extra sandbags were used or things like that, which is an issue I'm dealing with the turf. But that is really exciting to me because obviously I've been in this space before, right? I mean, I've worked with new home buyers. I've gone through their properties with them. I mean, resale is different than new construction because in new construction, the builder has to warrant the building, the structure, obviously the appliances and all of the, from all the different manufacturers that are brought that the builder brings in. Builder doesn't warrant the manufacturers, but the installation is obviously is. But there's a certain time frame, and then once that time frame is over, I mean, you can't as in a new home, you can't like call out 2 years later and say, hey, something's going on in the home, and because the homeowner's living in there and they have their own environment going on in there, unless it's something major. Obviously, there are rules about time frames as far as the actual structure, warranty. All states are different. I think North Carolina is 6 years for construction as far as structure, the building itself. All right. So those things are going on, and there is a big builder trade expo happening in October. It's coming in on the 15th and 16th, and so I'll be attending that. Give me another opportunity to meet new builders. But I'm actually have talked to 3 builders here, and they're interested in talking to us about how we do things with ProHome. So, and that's why I've actually reached out on social media and asked if you are a realtor, even if you do construction, you do new homes, whatever that is, if you have a builder that you work with, we'd like to talk to them. I'd like to talk to them. And because the relationship, that's what the relationship is. I saw a new build going up not too far from me, here in Mint Hill. I think it's just gone up. It's not finished yet. So they had a sign out there, and the sign had a number on there and looking for land. So I called the number, and it's actually a realtor. So this guy's an agent, but he's also a builder. So he gets the land, does the new build, and then he lists it. And then he, obviously, we can help them, anyone can help him get a buyer. But basically what he does, he says, I don't need help listing it, but I did talk to him about the warranty program, and he's very interested about it, because builders have to go in there and walk the property with the homeowner, and it's like, look at it from this perspective. This is, if this is your creation, and somebody goes in there and starts, pointing out all the little tiny defects that they think that they see, or whatever it is, whether or not, because there are certain standards that are warrantable and there's some that are not. So it's really it's more advantageous for the builder to have us as a company come in and do that, take the burden off you, having to deal with the homeowner, going through that. I mean, there is a term, they call it blue taping, punch holing things, that sort of thing, but it's more about educating the homeowner about their new home. A lot of builders don't have time for that, and they don't want to take phone calls at 2 o'clock in the morning on an issue in the property, right? Because then they got to get the subcontractor on the phone and do all of that, and and they want to be doing what they do best, which is building homes. So that's why it really, really works well. So we'll have that information out there for you. All right. Now, what else is going on? So I want to talk to you a little bit about what I said in this one. What have you done for me lately? Who is you? That's really right. And so if you saw the video that I did a while ago about no good deed goes unpunished, this is kind of, it's not really like that, but I'm going to flip it. All right. We're going to flip it, and we're going to talk about it from a different perspective. And I'm going to read a few excerpts from the book of Exodus, which is in the Old Testament. So just from a perspective, my wife and I read to Isaac. We've been doing this now for over 2 years. Now he's older now, he's 10. We didn't actually read him, obviously, the Bible itself, when he was young. We introduced him to, obviously, there's children's Bibles, those sort of things that are very, very good. Those of you who have kids in either Sunday school, and obviously the scripture reference from the Bible is different from an adult class versus a child's class, which is makes sense. But Isaac is a little bit older now. He really is. We have actually read him the entire Bible, from all the way from Genesis to Revelation. chapter and verse. And now we're going through it a second time. But now Isaac's at the point where we're able to basically talk to him on a little bit more of pulling things out, exegesis style, about what the actual references of that means from not so much from an application, but from what is really going on and what was taking place at that time. And even people who read scripture, people look at it from different lenses. Some say that everything in there that I'm reading applies to me. There's an argument whether it does or doesn't. I don't really believe that it does. It really depends on where you are. If you're not one of the sons of Israel, then that's, in a particular verse, especially in the Old Testament, that's who the direction was. Wasn't speaking to us here or even to us as Gentiles. So, all right, but I wanted to lay that foundation down there so you get an understanding. So in Exodus in chapter 14, obviously, even if you don't really know the book of Exodus, many people, just from watching television, especially around Easter, we know about the Ten Commandments, right? Charlton Heston played Moses, and obviously that was a adaptation from Hollywood. And even though they did use the book of Exodus to make the recreation of the movie, obviously there's a lot of, nobody was there. I wasn't there. The people who made the movies, the Ten Commandments, they weren't there. So they had to take, basically what they saw in scripture, and it all depends on if they were using King James Version or whatever they were using to do it. But in any way, everyone pretty much knows the parting of the Red Sea. There are certain books of the Old Testament, even if you've never read scripture before or read the Old Testament, it's just what we know. People will know about Jonah, right? People talk about Jonah and the whale. Well, technically, in that particular book in the Old Testament, I believe it's in Kings, that it wasn't a whale, never said it was a whale. It was a large fish that swallowed Jonah and took him to Nineveh for a purpose. But obviously, even in Sunday schools, Catholic schools, evangelical schools, non-denominational Christian schools, everyone pretty much knows Jonah and the whale, and people know about the parting of the Red Sea. Let my people go. Moses coming forward over the years of the Israelites being held in bondage by Pharaoh. All right. So, and this is what's interesting, how I'm using this to apply to us in what have you done for me lately? So if we look at in Exodus chapter 14, I actually read through what's called NASB. It's a New American Standard Bible. This is a study guide one from John MacArthur. But in chapter 14, in verse 13, I'm only going to read just a short one here for you. I got to get this one. And it says that the title of it, that the sea is divided. So this is the point where all the plagues had happened, right? Even the worst plague, the plague of death came upon Egypt and all the sons of Egypt, Moses, even his son, by the darkness of death. This is the Passover, putting the blood over the homes so that the angel of death would pass over the Israelites' homes. So obviously that was a very, very, if you couldn't turn your heart around from that, from all the other plagues, from the locusts, right? And the famine, the frogs, the turning the sea to red, you didn't have water, all of those things still didn't turn Pharaoh's heart. So eventually that one, which killed many of newborns, and I think it was either 1 or 2 years old, 3 years old. It's horrifying to think about it, but That's what the Lord did. So obviously, Pharaoh decided, okay, I've had enough. Now, that's what he was telling Moses. It really wasn't he was going to do. He's still going to have his revenge no matter what. So here in chapter 14, in verse 13, it says, But Moses said to the people, Do not fear. Stand by and see the salvation of the Lord, which he will accomplish for you today. For the Egyptians, listen to this now, Egyptians, whom you have seen today, you will never see them again forever. The Lord will fight for you while you keep silent. So they wanted to obviously leave Egypt from bondage, being held in slavery. And this is what Moses was doing. Obviously, Moses realized who he was later in life. But at any rate, that's what it was. So he's bringing all of the people. This Pharaoh said, Yes, we'll let you people go. And now in their camps, moving forward out of Egypt. And they're moving towards, we all know, the Red Sea. I'm not going to go into much detail about that, where, it's basically the angel of the Lord came in. It was actually the angel of the Lord was working. If you read in chapter 19, it talks about the angel of the Lord who God had been going before the camp of Israel. So the Lord's presence was there and using Moses to extend his staff, raising his hands. And then think about that. I mean, they probably the Israelites never seen anything like this ever before, right? Can you just imagine seeing this, an entire sea fold upwards like walls? And it does describe in chapter 19, all the way, or verse 19, all the way through 26, that what took place, and that they were able to walk around right through the ground, and then turning back and seeing Pharaoh and all of his army coming after them, and then the sea, the wall of water going over them, and then drowning them all and saved them. This is what they wanted. It's what they wanted. So now we go, and so in chapter 15, they talk about singing the songs of Moses in Israel, just praising God for what he has done. But in the second chapter, so we're going from 14 into chapter 16, and here's what it said. Here we go. Then they, which is Moses and the Egyptians, that basically were called the sons of Israel, which was all of the tribes at that time, had set out from Elim, and all the congregation of the sons of Israel came to the wilderness of Sin, capital Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai, on the 15th day of the second month, after their departure from the land of Egypt. They're out of it. They've been set free. Here we go. The whole, not some, but the whole congregation of the sons of Israel grumbled. Now, you may have another version that may say something different. Could be complaint. Grumbled, my version says grumbled against Moses and Aaron in the wilderness. The sons of Israel said to them, Moses and Aaron, would that we had died by the Lord's hand in the land of Egypt, when we sat by the pots of meat, when we ate bread to the full, for you have brought us out of the land into the wilderness to kill this whole assembly with hunger. So here they are, released from bondage, no longer under the wrath of Pharaoh. And now they're basically saying, well, if we would have stayed there, we would have had food food to eat, but we still would have been captives under Pharaoh. But we don't have any food now because you took us out of there, and now we're going to be starving. Think about that. Just let that resonate with you just for a moment. Now, obviously, I mean, I cannot picture and put myself into that situation, and I don't believe anyone else watching this can. But I think that from a mindset of if you've gone through a situation, a trial, if you've gone even through an illness, a sickness, you don't really know right at the beginning what the outcome is going to be. You want to have a better outcome, obviously, right? You want to have, people pray and say, Lord, and others praying for healing, my circumstance, my financial circumstance, I've lost my job. We have to leave our home, all these things that are a burden to us. But then when that situation has been changed, and I know people that are in remission for cancer, people's circumstance, they've got a new job, their finances have changed, they're into a better vehicle now, their relationships are better now. And so now, would you complain after that and say, well, thanks for healing me, but I had different kinds of things to eat before I was sick? So now the other way to look at this is what is going to be the response? And this is really what this is all about. What have you done for me lately? Is because you have to look at it from like, what is our mindset of us? We, now we're going to look a little bit about what God's response is. Well, would have been your response? What about that if you went out and you took somebody out of their circumstance and put them in a new circumstance, and then they called you later and said, hey man, I really appreciate you doing that for me, but there's something here that still, ain't right. I ain't happy about. I mean, what would you do? I mean, you're probably just like, what is wrong with you? This is what I just did for you. I just helped you to get through something that you couldn't have done on your own. You couldn't have done this on your own. So this is no surprise to the Lord, which really showcases his loving kindness and his mercy and his love, because I mean, there's some other dynamics that are going on here. Obviously, he knows he knows that the people of Israel really do not know who he is. Moses is the conduit. Moses really was the only one that the Lord was trying to show him in a certain way. He didn't actually reveal his whole glory to himself, but he showed him, spoke to him, and through up in Mount Sinai, revealed himself through the fire, to show basically who he was. And this was no game. But the sons of Israel really don't know that. They're just going by what Moses is saying. But nevertheless, they still saw the Red Sea part. They can't deny the fact that they walked through that miracle. I mean, they were just praising the Lord and Moses in chapter 15. And now in chapter 16, they're like, we got nothing here to eat. When we were in Egypt as captives, being beaten, slaves, we had food. So here's the response, which is really interesting to see. Then the Lord said to Moses, behold, I will rain bread from heaven for you, and the people shall go out and gather a day's portion every day, that I may test them whether or not they will walk in my instructions. And on the sixth day, when they prepare what they bring in, it will be twice as much as they gather daily. So Moses and Aaron said to all the sons of Israel, At evening, you will know that the Lord has brought you out of the land of Egypt, and in the morning you will see the glory of the Lord, for he hears your grumblings. He hears your complaining against him, against the Lord, and what we are, that you grumble against us. Why are you grumbling against us? So this wasn't just a one-time thing. Manna, which is described later of what it is, sort of like a bread substance of with honey in it, and was provided every morning, but the Lord commanded them to eat all of it. So he provided enough for all of them, and yet, as you read on through this chapter 16, that they wasted some of it. I mean, once it sat on the ground for a while, you couldn't eat it, and bugs and everything else came in, and it was just it's disgusting. So the Lord is now giving them food. He knows that they have not established themselves in where they're at right now in the wilderness for crops and growing. So he's going to take care of them. Basically, I mean, there's no secret of what's coming forward from the Lord. He already knows. He's already planning this all out, and yet they're still grumbling and complaining, like, when is this? Say what's going to happen, even though the Lord is providing for them. And it's interesting also to see about why it's two portions on the sixth day, and because of the Sabbath, and they couldn't go out. The Lord already knew that they couldn't go out on the Sabbath. They couldn't get anything. So the Lord gave them a double portion so that would carry them through after the Sabbath, and then more of it will come forward. And I got to go through this again, but I believe it went on for 40 years of manna. So that is really interesting to see. They didn't know what it was, but yet God provided for them anyway. So, what have you done for me lately is something that I think that we need to look at in our own lives, because we are unfortunately creatures of selfishness. We really are. We will want for ourselves first, and then we'll also complain about it. We do it in our relationships. We do it in our jobs. You get a job, you get a pay, and then you get your paycheck, and taxes are taken out. It's like, oh, I'm grumbling and complaining about this. And I may even alluded to it earlier about the amount of commission I'm making, but that's a little bit different. It's a little bit different. But maybe it still applies to some degree. So, and I'm also trying to teach this to Isaac, because children, obviously, they work on an emotional based system. Highs and lows, gratification, what's in front of them, when am I going to get it? And what happens if I don't get it? And this is a lot of like what we see here is like how children act, right? Isaac will come to me and say, I don't want to do this, or I don't want to do this anymore. I don't like this. This is difficult for me. And so we'll say, okay, we understand that. So we actually had gone through taking him through a math tutor system called Mathnasium. And it was right after school. So he spent all day in school until about 3:30. Well, it was out at 2:30, but after that, the Mathnasium opened up at 3:30. And then I would take him, or my wife would take him, usually me, depending upon, what I was doing, and then pick him up, drive him, and then he's got to spend another hour after he just spent, 6 hours or 7 hours at school, another hour with math, and then back home, and then he still had more homework to do. Now, his math grades increased. I mean, we see now in his fifth grade that his math and most of all of his subjects, he's doing much, much better now than he did in the fourth grade. Fourth grade was really tough for him. It was a lot of work for a fourth grader. And we saw the burden on him. But many kids go through this, and we, always try to be encouraging to him about it. But so we found a process where we can actually go online now, which is very similar to Mathnasium, and he can do the math quizzes and things like that online in a program. It works really good because one, he doesn't have to go there. We don't have to take him there, go through traffic, because especially down here in the Charlotte area, we're coming back at 4:30, 5 o'clock. It's mayhem. All right. And so we do a lot of grumbling and complaining about that. We do. Just who we are. We grumble and we complain. But yet with Isaac, we were trying to take the burden off of him. So we found this process, and he was like, this is great. I don't have to go there and sit there for an hour in front of an instructor. And the other issue is that Isaac is, he has he speaks two languages, right? So he speaks Spanish and he speaks English, and a lot of his homework in math is in Spanish, and the tutors there don't speak Spanish. So he has to translate the math problems in Spanish into English, hear it back in English, translate it back into Spanish, and then write the answers. A lot of work. So we usually reward him with something after all that. But now that he doesn't have to go there, and he is sitting in front of the computer now and logging in and being able to do stuff, and now he's distracted because he wants to do other things. He doesn't want to follow the program and go through the math applications and the math problems, and he wants to play and he wants to goof around, and he's complaining about having now to sit in front of the computer and do that after we just took him out of the land of Mathnasium through our own Red Sea into a new land, and he's complaining about it. It's nothing new. Nothing new who we are. But this is what I wanted you to see. What have you done for me lately? God's response is nothing that you would expect. Many of us who had situations upon us where we've done something for someone, no good deed goes unpunished, and then we go back and we say, who do you think you are to respond to me that way? Look at what I've done for you. How dare you complain to me after what I've done for you? If you don't like it, you can just go back. It's very simple. I'll open up the Red Sea back for you. I'll put you all back. You want to go back there under slavery, under Moses, and eat the meat? Go ahead. No matter to me. That is not his response. That is not the Lord's response. His response is what? Verse 4, then the Lord said to Moses, behold, I will rain bread, bring it down from heaven for you. And the people shall go out and gather a day's portion every day, that they may test, so that I may test them. So basically, he wants them, all of this, most of all of this, through Exodus, all the way through, even through the book of Kings. You go further in, even in the book of Judges. It's all about God is continuing to show them his grace and his mercy, even after their rebellion over and over again, turning away from him. And yet he does something and turns them back around, because he loves his creation. He loves his creation, his people. That is what his response was. It was a response of love. What it was. And I'm just going to give you the food. He didn't chastise them. He didn't scold them. He just said, it's coming. I'm bringing you food. You're going to have it every single day, and you're going to have it twice before the Sabbath. So you'll have plenty of it. That's what I'm going to do for you. Because he knows that he's trying to build that relationship with them, and he knows how difficult it is because he's not physically there in their presence. So he understands that. And a lot of times we need to look at it from a different lens, maybe a mana lens of how we should respond in kind and not bring anger against someone, because the Lord didn't bring anger here at all. He brought his love, he brought his grace and his mercy. And this is what and who the Lord is. It's just part of his character. And that's why so many times, I speak to a lot of people who don't really want to get into the Old Testament because in some religions and even Christianity, it's like the angry man of the Bible, the old angry man of the Bible, shaking his finger. No, that's not who he is. You have to see it differently. You have to actually read through it and pull it out and see exactly what it was that he was doing. That is a response that we, in our own nature of selfishness, we do not respond that way. So that is what this was all about. And I kind of like pointed that out to Isaac because I actually read this to him a couple nights ago. And I was reading to him and I go, listen to this, Isaac. And they grumbled. And I said, wow. So that's why we do what we do with him with this. All right. So that's it. That's what I got on this recording. It's been probably rather lengthy. We do appreciate you all. I hope that you maybe taken something away from this and apply it to you in everything that we do in our jobs, in our relationships, in our response. When we say, what have you done for me lately? Are you the complainer or are you the giver? Think about that. It'll really change your mindset of being the giver and giving grace to others when we do something for them. All right, that's it. We'll see you all next time here on Planet One YouTube channel. Also, I did put up there, I finished up on Mixcloud. I put a new one up, number 11. I sent the link out last night. And one thing I didn't know about them is that if you replace like that MP3 file with another one, it deletes it and you have to, it doesn't replace it. The Buzzsprout, which was the podcast platform I was using, if you make changes to your podcast show MP3 and replace it with, edit it and resave it and then upload it, it replaces it. Mixcloud, Mixcloud doesn't do that. So some of you may have gotten a link and it shows it's not available. So, but if you just go to mixcloud.com, try to make it more simple. If you just go to mixcloud.com and put in Planet One Radio, you'll find it. It's really cool. I really like the music. Great music blend, rock artists, pop artists, some rap artists all blended in together. It's kind of cool. And we're going to be working on that. So that's what I got. It is finishing up on this morning here on Monday. And hope that you're going to have a great week. And we'll see you soon. Greg Angello with Planet One Radio. Take care. Be kind to one another. Look after one another and love one another. Basic, simple, very, very simple. We'll talk to you all soon. Take care.